If you're watching this guide, then you probably want to get better at Overwatch. Well, what if I told you that there was one hero who was strong in almost every condition, and who by his very design was the most capable of filling any gaps in a team's skill base, significantly increasing your chances of propping up weaker players on your team and improving your chances of victory? Ladies and gentlemen, that hero is Soldier 76, and in this video, we're going to give you a complete overview of what is without question the most versatile and well-rounded hero in Overwatch, with a basics guide for new players and plenty of advanced tips and techniques for the more advanced ones, so stick around. Guys, it's Skill Up here with another Overwatch video. You can find my details in the description below. My channel covers Overwatch, Division, Destiny, and Battlefield, so check that out if you're keen. But today we're going to be taking a look at the hero that many people write off as being a bland, welcoming party to the Call of Duty fanbase, but is in fact one of the most powerful, versatile, and effective heroes in all of Overwatch, particularly if you are serious about climbing the ranked ladder. In order to understand what makes 76 so strong, we need to understand the fundamentals of what Overwatch is and is not. Overwatch is not Call of Duty, Destiny, or any other type of Twitch arena shooter. Overwatch is a team-based game. People don't like making comparisons between Overwatch and MOBAs like Dota or League of Legends, but Overwatch has way more in common with those games than it does with your typical shooting game. Overwatch is about strategy, communication, situational awareness, and team synergy. It's about knowing that your Reinhardt has his ult up so that you can be ready with Pharah's rocket barrage. It's about knowing that an enemy Reaper is on the other team and he hasn't been seen for a good 30 seconds, meaning he is unquestionably about to appear at your backline in an attempt to assassinate your Mercy. In Overwatch, understanding who you are playing with and against is the #1 deciding factor in success, way more than your individual skill level. A Soldier 76 is the perfect hero for intelligent, strategic players to utilize if they are looking to augment their team's capabilities and bring strong synergy. Soldier 76 is powerful because, put simply, he does pretty much everything damn well, something that really cannot be said for any other hero in the game. At short, medium, or long range, 76 can apply constant DPS to maintain consistent damage on targets. His grenades bring much needed burst DPS to his kit, allowing him to quickly bring down targets if he can land it. His heal allows him to heal not only himself, but also his teammates, giving him significant 1v1 dueling power and providing strong sustain to his team when they want to camp on objectives. His sprint allows him to apply huge map pressure, since he can be all over the map in a way that very few heroes can match. And his tactical visor ultimate allows him to safely pick off valuable targets at key strategic moments to set up for team kills. No other hero in the game can do as much as 76 can do, or do it as easily or as consistently. And it's for this reason that 76 is actually one of the top 3 most picked heroes in competitive and high-level play. The byproduct of all of this versatility baked into 76 kit is the constant pressure that he brings, and I'd really urge you to understand this point about pressure. His pulse rifle range and damage make him a constant threat. His sprint provides him with huge map presence. His heal gives him and his team on the battlefield longer and better sustain, and his ultimate gives huge shutdown potential when the time is right, forcing the enemy to think very carefully about when they want to pop their ultimates. When 76 is on the battlefield, the enemy team does not have the valuable few seconds that they need to think strategically and plan for the next move, as they are always thinking about the here and now, because they constantly have a Soldier 76 shooting them in the face. It's a high pressure, very versatile, and masterfully tuned kit in the right hands. So let's get down to some of the detail of it so that you know how to use it well. First up, 76's defining part of his kit is his heavy pulse rifle. It's an automatic fire weapon that fires at a rate of 10 rounds per second, dealing 17 damage per bullet at its optimal range of 30 meters or less. Now, most characters in Overwatch have around 200 health, some as low as about 150, and the tanks generally have between 500 and 600. This means that 76 is probably going to have to shoot most targets 11 times to drop them, which is just over a second of continuous fire, and in the case of tanks, he'll have to shoot them roughly 35 times, which is a full magazine plus a reload cycle, meaning you'll need 4.5 seconds to bring down a tank from max health health to 0. Soldier 76 achieves about 170 DPS on average, which is not exceptional DPS by any means. Tracer, for example, deals 240 DPS, Reaper deals 280, and Bastion deals a whopping 525 DPS in turret mode. All in, 76 is the 7th highest DPS character in the game. But unlike all of the 6 other characters sitting above him, 76 deals this damage safely, precisely, consistently, and at range. Pound for pound, 76 is one of the most efficient damage dealers in the game because his pulse rifle is strong, with a large magazine, a great rate of fire, and a fantastic range that sets him apart from almost anybody else. A few key things to note about the pulse rifle: it is a full auto weapon, but its reticle will begin to bloom after the first 3 shots that you fire. If you're looking to deal damage to targets at close or medium range, I'd recommend just doing spray and pray, just constant fire. But if you're aiming for more distant targets, I would strongly recommend aiming and firing in 3 to 5 round bursts, as after 5 rounds, the reticle is at its max spread, making the weapon highly inaccurate at this range. The other thing to note is reload time. It's a base of 1 second, but you can actually animation cancel this to get it down ever so slightly. Animation cancelling is done by using any other ability during the reload cycle, including melee or sprint, so long as you do it right after the number 25 reappears in the ammo count. So get in the habit of doing this, as it can give you a small edge in those moments that really matter. Next up, we have 76's alternate fire mode, his Hilux Rockets. With a cooldown of 8 seconds, Hilux Rockets deal a total of 120 damage, which is a combination of 80 impact damage and 40 AOE damage, which is dealt up to 2 meters around the impact. So you kind of get a sense for how far that is away from the target. This ability cannot headshot, so don't bother aiming for the head with these. They're really awesome to use when enemies are clumped up, as you'll be hitting your primary target for a total of 120 damage and all of the surrounding targets for 40, meaning you could be dealing a total of 360 damage in one shot if you happen to hit all 6 targets, most likely if they're all caught in a Zarya or Reinhardt ultimate. Generally speaking, this ability is best used for its AOE effect rather than its impact effect. It travels quickly, it has a small hitbox, and it's generally very hard to land if your opponent is looking at you. It's very powerful if your opponent doesn't know that you're coming, as you can essentially use it as an opener for a free 120 damage, and then polish them off with just a few bullets from your pulse rifle. If the opponent knows you're coming, however, it's very likely they're going to be moving erratically, so it's actually better to aim for their feet or a nearby wall and benefit from the splash damage from this. It's a very high skill cap move that very much separates experienced soldiers 76 players from less experienced, but continue practicing with it and you'll quickly become proficient. 76's passive is Sprint. Pretty boring, right? Wrong. Sprint is actually like the best ability, one of the best abilities in the game for a whole heap of reasons. So you know how it works. You press a button and 76 starts sprinting, and you press it again and he stops. And you can also configure this in the menu so that it is a hold setting if that's what you prefer, meaning that 76 will stop running the minute you let go of this button. 76's base move speed is 5.5 meters per second, but with the sprint active, it shoots up to 8.33 meters per second, which is a full 51% increase, which is very large. Not only does this give 76 a huge amount of offensive pressure, as he's able to get to his desired location faster, but it also gives him tremendous defensive potential as well, because he can literally just run away from any fight that isn't going his way, and that's huge. That's a really big deal. Seriously, learn to run away with Soldier 76 and you'll see just how powerful this move is. The other trick to this ability is that it can actually be engaged when you're jumping to cancel your reload animation, or to help you cross longer distances, since you do jump further when you are sprinting. You can literally jump, press the sprint button while in mid-air, and you will actually travel further than if you hadn't pressed sprint at all. We'll come back to why this is important later on when we talk about 76's Helix Rocket jumps. Next up is 76's AOE Heal, which is Biotic Field. 76 drops a small beacon on the ground that heals him and his teammates within a 5-meter radius for 40 health per second for 5 seconds, or a total of 200 health. 76 has 200 health, so this ability will restore him to full health health, which means that if he is dueling someone and you've got this thing down on the ground, you essentially need to kill a 76 twice. And this is the best possible application for this amazing ability. Drop it when going 1v1 with someone and you put yourself at a huge advantage, as you'll be able to push your effective HP up to 100. The same could be said when you are firing at a more distant target. You can literally drop it near a corner and pop in and out and continue to apply damage while this ability keeps you topped up. Of course, your teammates also benefit from it, which is really superb as a tool to keep your team up during critical pushes or capture moments. Don't forget that you can actually put this on a payload and it will move with the payload, making it a mobile health station for those critical payload moments. Finally, 76's ultimate ability is Tactical Visor, a 6-second aimbot hack that gives you 100% accuracy against your targets. Every round you fire will hit your target so long as it is locked onto an enemy, and given that your weapon damage is balanced around you missing a lot, this is actually a really huge increase in DPS when it's active. So a few important things to note about this ability. You do not gain any additional health, damage, rate of fire, or speed when you are using this. You are literally the same guy as before, you are just now way more accurate. When you pop it, you will instantly reload your magazine, so I strongly recommend popping it after you've emptied your mag in order to maximize your total DPS throughput. It does lock onto targets very quickly, but it will change targets if something moves in front of your current target. For this reason, you actually don't want to use this ability if the enemies are really tightly clumped up, as it will reduce its effectiveness. It will kind of change target too rapidly. You actually want to use it when they are in a loose stack, as this will allow you to remain locked onto your desired target until it is dead and then quickly switch to another. Also, this ability will not headshot, it will only shoot for the body, so the same damage and time to kill requirements are in place. And for this reason, it's really important that you don't aim for tanks while you're using this, as it can literally bring down 2 or 3 squishier targets in the same time that it takes to bring down one tank. Finally, this ability does give your Hilux Rockets heat-seeking capability, so be sure to drop one of those during the 6-second duration, and note that your reload speed is increased while you have this ability active, giving you substantially increased DPS throughput. So of all of Soldier 76's abilities, ironically, this actually is the hardest to use. The hard part is knowing where and when to use it. Generally speaking, you want to use this from an elevated position where the enemy is not expecting it. 76 is not a strong flanker. It is not his job to sneak in behind enemy lines and assassinate targets. However, when you do have your ult up, I would absolutely recommend going for a flank. Sneak into an elevated spot behind where the enemy is advancing and open fire for some serious carnage. Attempting to use this ability up close and personally with enemies will generally get you killed, as you become a priority target, but more than that, you lose the ability to be selective with your targets, since you're going to be body blocked by tanks and other lower priority targets. Get up nice and high, and for God's sake, aim for the healer first. Bring down their Mercy so that she can't res, their Zenyatta so that he can't Tranquility, or their Lucio because that guy is just a pain in the ass and it's always fun to kill him. So those are 76's abilities and how to use them, but before we finish up, I wanted to talk about the ideal playstyle for 76 and where he does well before we cover off on a more advanced tactic, which is rocket jumping. So on playstyle in Overwatch, it's very important to understand the concept of mid-range power, so this is probably not something that you've had to contend with in most other shooters. Power is a metric that is measured out in various forms, and one of those forms is your distance from the target. See, for example, Reaper is utterly devastating up close, and as a result, he is completely useless at range, doing almost no damage whatsoever. That's how Blizzard have balanced him. Another example is Hanzo. Hanzo is extremely lethal at range, but as a result, he is very weak and vulnerable up close. The thing is, up close and personal damage is easy to land, but it's very high risk since your enemy can easily kill you back. Long range damage, on the other hand, is far more difficult to land, but it's much safer to do so as you're generally out of harm's way. Mid-range damage, what we're talking about here, is the sweet spot. It allows you to deal moderate amounts of damage at a range that is generally fairly safe. So you might still cop a Roadhog hook or a Junkrat grenade, but if you're smart about where you play and position yourself, then you're generally going to be okay. There's really only 2 heroes in the game that are highly effective in the mid-range category, and that's McCree and Soldier 76. Other options like Pharah or Junkrat generally have too many variables in play with the way that they deal damage. They're not as straight up reliable. If you want to apply constant mid-range pressure to your target, then McCree or 76 are the way to go. go, and I'd actually recommend 76 over McCree if that's your intent, because the Helix rockets that you can fire are another long-range form of damage that McCree just doesn't have, because all of his other abilities are quite up close and personal. So what does this mean for you? It means that you generally want to be standing somewhere between your tanks and your backline sniper. Ideally, you should be standing close to your healers to sort of, let your frontline tanks soak up the damage, with you firing over their shoulder or through the Reinhardt shield, and with you being ready to protect your healers from any flanking assassins like Genji or Reaper who get any funny ideas. You should be aiming to stay back and away from the fray, as the damage you bring to targets at range gives you a unique advantage from a positioning perspective. Abuse it as much as possible, as this safe but constant DPS pressure will see you be successful more often than not. Finally, one advanced technique I want to touch on is rocket jumping. It's a favorite from the Quake days. Rocket jumping essentially allows you to combine your jump with your Helix rockets to push you that little bit higher and further. The basic combo here is to jump and then fire your Helix rocket at the ground underneath you to get that little bit more height. You'll lose 40 health while doing this, but you can quickly heal that back up with your biotic field when you get to your destination, or you can actually drop it before you start jumping so you're already healed when you arrive. A more advanced technique again is to rocket jump while running and then hit sprint while you are in the air to cover a larger distance. As I mentioned before, if you start sprinting while you are in the air, you will cover slightly further. This will get you across much wider gaps than you would otherwise be able to cross, including the famous jump into point B on Hanamura. And that's it, guys. Soldier 76 guide is down. As I said, the aim of this guide was to give new players the basics and more advanced players some useful tips and techniques to improve their play. Soldier 76 is the ultimate flex pick, so I'd really recommend that everyone pick him up and learn to play him, as it's going to greatly increase your overall performance in team compositions and make climbing the ranked ladder that little bit easier. So guys, if you liked this video, do be sure to drop it a like and subscribe to the Video Games YouTube channel. And if you want even more Overwatch content from me, then be sure to check out my channel, Skill Up, which you'll find in the description below. For now, guys, thanks for watching, take good care, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.